TechNet Saturday at 7 p.m. W5FC. W5FC.
Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
And does anyone need to use a repeater before we begin tonight's Skynet? Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. This is Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray KE5ICX. My name's Tom. I'll be your net control for this edition of Skynet. It's been a while. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime, daytime, sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break and your call sign. Are there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? This is a directed net. You should not transmit without from direction from net control. That would be me and maybe others tonight. We'll find out. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on this frequency with a field tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or station or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics: astronomy, charts. I'm trying to do two things at once. Good luck, right? Charts, pictures, live audio, and video links are available online. Just go to www.w5fc.org right now and look for the complete list. And remember to tell others about this net. Let's see here. You can also check in the net electronically by using the club's website, w5fc.org. Look for today's announcement and click on the hot link that's located in the show notes. Let's see. We'll acknowledge you if you would look for tonight's announcements and click on that hot link to check in. We'll acknowledge you on the air. And don't worry, if you want to check in via voice, we'll continue to do so over air and Echolink. All amateur operators are welcome, and you need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. And it is about 90 minutes long. It may run a little short this evening. We have general announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events where and when you can look through a telescope, National Space Society events, recent astronomical discoveries. Discussion topic of the evening was space exploration and space history, constellation of the week, space launches, visible satellite passages, astronomical Q&A, and a 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are welcome to check in. And we have the following people checked in. Hold on. myself, we have Chaz and Bob the Cat, KFI-JJ. They're in the Milky Way galaxy somewhere, also known as the Milky Way. Oh, let's see, who else we got? We have K5MCD, that's Mr. Cody, with his boy Sherman. Yes. W5DLT, Bill Garland, NT5TM, Tony in Bird City, Virginia, ND5F over in Fort Worth, Dale, N5LIG, he's in Mobile in North Texas. We've got AA5AH, Robert Richardson, WB50ZL, Brenda in Dallas, N5DB, Bill over in Irving. Okay, that's what I have checked in electronically. Let me go look over on Echolink. Nobody there, but it hasn't already been checked in. So we'll go ahead and start with short time check-ins. If you're one of those, please come with your call sign now, your name, where you're transmitting from. Short time only, please.
Alpha Bravo 5 Delta Mike, Dustin in Dallas.
All right, let me go ahead and get those. I've got AB5DM, that's Dustin in Dallas, and then I've got David over in Farmers Branch. KG5, question mark FR. Could you give me your call again, David? I'm sorry, I didn't quite get it.
Sure thing. The call is Kilo, Golf 5, Uniform, Foxtrot Romeo, KC5 UFR, and then Jacob.
Excellent. I got you that time, David. KG5UFR. All right, very good. Those are short time check-ins. Any other short time, please come now. Okay, I know David didn't have anything. Dustin, do you have anything for the net? If you do, just come with your call sign. All right, very good. We'll go ahead and take general check-ins over here, please. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
This is Kilo 5 Whiskey Victor Lima, James Carrollton. Kilo Foxtrot 5 Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill Farmers Branch.
Alpha Bravo 1 Mike, this is Michael in Dallas.
November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay.
Okay, it's a little slow this evening, but let me go ahead and see who we got. James, I've got Kilo question mark 5 Whiskey Victor Lima. I should know your call, James, but would you please give it to me anyway?
Yes, Kilo 5 Whiskey Victor Lima.
Oh, as fate would have it, it cut out at exactly the same point. I'm going to say, is that a Kilo Echo call?
Yes, 5 Whiskey Victor Lima.
Wisconsin. KF5ZBL, Mr. Bill, Farmers Branch, AA5, Mike, I just think that's Michael in Dallas, and 5OF, Clay in Mesquite. Additional check-ins, please come now.
Kilo Juliet 5, Kilo Lima Delta, Sai from Dallas.
All right, the station calling, I got Kilo, and that was it. That's one of the reasons I don't do this net, is because I get dropout. So forgive me if I'm not getting everybody's call. Could you go ahead and give me your call again, that station twice, please?
Kilo Juliet 5, Kilo Lima Delta, Sai from Dallas.
All right, I've got Kilo Juliet 5, Kilo India, question mark. What was it again?
Kilo Juliet 5, Kilo Lima Delta.
I got it that time. KJ5KID. I have you over in Dallas. Additional check-ins, please come now.
Correction. Kilo Juliet 5, Kilo Lima Delta, L, Lima Delta, Sai from Dallas.
Okay, thank you. Boy, I was so excited I got the last character right and then didn't get the second to last right. KJ5KLD. I in Dallas. Got you checked in. I've got you checked in over the electronics. Anyone else would like to check in any mode, please? Oh, I haven't done Echolink. Let me switch to Echolink here. I'm trying to do everything at the same time. It's kind of difficult. Let's see. Oh, that's, I've got you here from Sri Lanka. Oh, how about that? If you were over on Echolink, I got you. Looks like everyone else is checked in. So, we'll continue here. Let's see. Let's go ahead and go with general announcements. Does anyone have any announcements for tonight's net? Please come now with your call sign phonetically.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
All right, I guess you're the guy. Tony, go ahead. NT5TM.
Well, oh wait, excuse me. Sorry, there was a sneeze lurking. Tomorrow is the third Sunday, so there's several fun things coming up. The White Rock Lake Amateur Radio Club is having their third Sunday fox hunt. Be sure to check out NTXARDF. That stands for North Texas Amateur Radio Direction Finding.org, NTXARDF, for more information. Of course, we also have a meeting on the air tomorrow at 7 and a Racy's Training Net at 8 p.m. And tonight's Afterglow movie discussion will focus on Battle in Outer Space, a movie from 1959 or 1960 or so, set in the futuristic year of 1965. Shockingly, it seems to be in color, and not as horrible as I expected. So, hey, it's got that going for it. We'll talk about it tonight at 10:30, plus or minus 5 minutes or so. And please don't forget the next Dallas Amateur Radio Club lecture and lab is a week from today, Saturday, March 22nd at 10 a.m. Central Time at the Dallas Medical Center in our usual third-floor community room. Go to the main hospital building, yay, free parking. Take the elevator to the third floor, and the room with all the noisy, friendly hams is where you're going. We'll talk about building and terminating coax cables, but mainly we're going to be assembling a 50-ohm 20-watt dummy load. This is a great chance to practice your soldering skills in a low-stakes environment if you just want to learn to solder better. More details are at w5fc.org. And I'll sneak in one more little announcement here. My favorite contest, even better than Field Day, the CQ Worldwide Worked All Prefixes. Yes, like Tom and I are officially in different countries, and we can work each other for points, because he's KE5 and I'm NT5. We're all rare ones, suddenly. That's coming up the last weekend of the month, March 29th and 30th. Get your antennas ready. I've lowered a lot of mine to the ground because of high winds, so I've got some work to do. Anyway, NT5TM, back to net.
All right, thank you, Tony. Does anyone need any fills on Tony's announcements? Okay, very good. I have a very unusual announcement right now for people on the net. I use a script that is shared amongst other people on this net, and something interesting has happened. I believe there is a cat on a keyboard somewhere that's messing with my script, and I'm trying to work around it right now. So you please, if you get this script and you see it, would you double check and see if you have a cat, a drink, or something on it, because I'm getting some sort of QRM over the interwebs. So just thought I'd mention that. I've switched to a local document here, and I'm trying to get caught up to where I was. But at any rate, I just thought I would mention that because you're going to find a bunch of 4s all over your screen if you use that live document from Google Docs. Okay, let's see here. We have AMSAT.net. I'm going to, well, let me go ahead and skip that. I'm just going to go on to the DARC nets this evening. It's just been a really interesting day. We have Mondays at 7 o'clock. Actually, it nets every night of the week here on the DARC repeater. This week is a rotating net on Mondays at 7 p.m. It'll be the third week, which is Ham Fixin' the second helping net. Bring your favorite or new recipe, cooking tips, or techniques. We wouldn't mind if you've got a good restaurant review or two. Just make sure you eat something before the net or you'll get hungry. Brenda, WB50ZO's Net Control. Saturdays are the night of nets. If you didn't already know that, TechNet from 7 to 8 p.m. Q&A on all things ham radio related. Swap meet, Rookie's Corner, news and information. So there's an alternating net control each week. I think Bill, N5VB, was net control tonight. Right now you're checked in and listening to Skynet from 9 to 10:30. Astronomy, space exploration topics. Then we have the Afterglow Movie Net, which I'm going to talk about here in a minute, with my highly accurate review, which Tony also mentioned. First and third Sundays is the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air, or MODA. What's going on in your ham world? Tell us and learn about the club that maintains this popular repeater, the Dallas Amateur Radio Club. Daily, we have the ARRLNet National Traffic System Training Net. That's every night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Learn how message traffic is handled on this formal training net. Newbies are welcome to check in on this net. By the way, you can do no wrong because it is a training net. NTS also conducts an evening formal net on the Irving WA5CKF repeater 146.72 megahertz at 9:30 p.m. All are welcome to check in any of all of these nets. broadcast via the 5 tones was the usual protocol for planets that utilized a top 10 popular music countdown, and Earth sure fit that bill. But before Commander Baldy could shift the ship into hyperdrive, another vessel blew past him, headed in the same direction. It was Baldy's arch-competitive enemy, Commander Plato Morado Harvest Gold, who was racing to Earth to make first contact. The ship disappeared at FTL speeds. Join us for a battle in outer space from 1960. Oh, actually, it's 1959. I wrote down the future date, which was supposed to take place in the future of 1965, which Tony mentioned. A Japanese alien invasion story that actually didn't get terrible reviews. In some ways, it wasn't bad, so we'll have an opportunity to talk about it. By the way, if you noticed on the w5fc.org website, there is a hot link for the movie tonight under our notes for this net. So you can click on it, and it'll take you right to the movie link, but just free, as always. You can keep up with all DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, which is w5fc.org. Let me see. I'm looking to see. I've got a million screens open trying to do them all. We found out who the person was. The cat was Coco. Coco was messing with Brenda's keyboard, WB50ZL. Just thought I'd mention that. And she's asking how to lock the keyboard, of course. But too late now. Okay, let's see. Next up is Texas Astronomical Society. Well, let me do this. Are there any additional check-ins? I'll do that first. If you'd like to check in, please come with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from.
Kilo 5, Juliet Delta Whiskey, John and Coppell. This is Whiskey Bravo 4, Mike, Foxtrot, India, WD4 MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power.
This is Whiskey 5 Golf Uniform Sierra Gus, far northwest and northeast Dallas.
All right, we picked up 3 more. I got K5JDW, John in Coppell, WB4MFI, Ted in Dallas, and W5GUF Gus over in far northeast Dallas. And I messed up on poor side, KJ5KLD, that's Cy, over in Dallas. I thought he was coming in he's over on Echolink, but I messed up on his location. All right, next up is Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. That would be Chaz, KF5JHA. Chaz, what do you have for us tonight?
Good evening, everyone. This is KF5JHA. Brenda, we have a Wildcat as one of the constellations tonight, so Lynx. You could blame it after Lynx if you want to. So, on March the 28th, will be the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas. And there's also a Zoom component for members. The featured speaker has not been identified. If you'd like to be a speaker, please contact us. So we don't know the topic either. Now, Saturday night public observing stations continue. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night so there could be an opportunity for live reports to the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing stations. On the 3rd Saturday of the month, the stargazing is held at Cedar Hill. Unfortunately, I'm sure it was canceled due to the clouds. You can check the TASS website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing stations. And this is KF5JJ, back to our net control, and our father, maybe grandfather, of Skynet.
Time of truth.
All right, thanks, Kid Chaz. Next up is National Space Society events and activities. That would be Bill, N5DB. Bill, what do you have for us tonight?
Well, thank you, Tom. This is N5BD. I am the National Space Society North Texas Chapter Vice President and Membership Director. I can be reached at space@byram.net. The National Space Society is a nonprofit group based in the U.S. which is interested in the exploration and development of space and the creation of a spacefaring civilization. The big event each year for the National Space Society is the International Space Development Conference, ISDC. The next ISDC will be held in Orlando, Florida on June the 19th to 22nd, 2025, and I will be there. The North Texas chapter of the National Space Society meets at 3:30 p.m. on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. The meeting location is Spring Creek Barbecue on the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline Road in Irving. This is across the street from the highway from Irving Mall. The next meeting will be held on Sunday afternoon, April the 13th. A presentation topic for this meeting is not yet known. Our meetings are also available virtually using WebEx. Contact N5BD if you'd like to attend online. This is N5BD. On the last Friday evening of each month, from 6 to 8 p.m., the National Space Society North Texas Chapter sponsors a social event called Space Rendezvous. The location is Chitter's Restaurant, 700 West Highway 635 in Irving. Anyone is welcome to attend and discuss human activities in space with us. No membership in any group is required. The next Space Rendezvous social event will be held on Friday, March the 28th. Our local National Space Society chapter website is ntx.nss.org. Our group also has an active Facebook page. Just type National Space Society of North Texas into the search box. If you have any questions about the National Space Society, please contact Bill, N5BB, November 5 Bravo Bravo, at his QRZ listed email address, or at space@byram.net. That is SPACE@BYROM.net. That's all I've got, Tom. This is N5BB. Back to Ned.
Very good. Thank you, Bill. Does anybody need anything else? Have any questions? Please come in your call sign now. Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and get started now with the net. The next section is recent astronomical discoveries. I'm going to ask Brenda. She was having some computer problems this week. She may have them resolved. Echolink may or may not work, so I'm going to ask her, WB5OZL, would you like to go ahead and read the recent astronomical discoveries section for tonight from KE5I6?
This is WB5OZL. I will be happy to, and thank you for putting that stuff together. My computer died yesterday, and today I went out and bought another one, and I've spent all evening trying to get it back, started up, and it's taking many hours and still not all there. And I've got this new cat that I'm arguing with. He's I made him get down. Now he's sulking. So, whoops. Oh, sorry, I went to the wrong place. Okay, 4 rocky exoplanets found around Barnard's star, one of the Sun's nearest neighbors. The planets are all too hot for life as we know it, but astronomers haven't given up searching for more planets in Barnard's star habitable zone. Scientists have confirmed the existence of 4 small rocky planets orbiting Barnard's star, the second closest star system to Earth, using a specialized instrument on the mighty Gemini North Telescope in Hawaii. Just 6 light years away from us, all the worlds are too hot to support life as we know it. This find is particularly exciting, explained Ritvik Basant, who is a PhD student at the University of Chicago and an author on a paper about the new discovery. This is because, he said, Barnard's star is essentially our cosmic neighbor, yet we don't know very much about it. There have been many claims of exoplanets orbiting Barnard's star over the years, dating all the way back to the 1960s. Barnard's star is a red dwarf, also known as an M dwarf, and is noticeable for having the fastest proper motion in reference to its motion visible in the night sky of any star so far discovered. Most recently, in 2024, astronomers using the Espresso spectrograph on the Very Large Telescope in Chile claimed the detection of 1 planet and evidence for further 3. Now, a team led by Jacob Bean and Besant at the University of Chicago has confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt the existence of all 4 planets. Back to Nat, WB5OZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda, and thank you for that story. We're finding out more and more thanks to the space telescopes that are currently in space, of course. We've been able to actually discern planets and atmospheres and all of that. It's getting very interesting very quickly out there, new discoveries every day. And this is KE5ICX Net Control for tonight. Our discussion topic of the evening is also very interesting. I found this one online here this morning, actually. Let's see if I can bring this baby up. It's from IFL Science, although the article actually originates elsewhere, but I was going to credit it to James somebody, but a cat erased the guy's name, so it's James Fellows, I think. At any rate, this is what it says. It says, black holes are strange objects, though we have learned plenty about them. Confound our understanding of physics. In an attempt to reconcile some of the paradoxes discovered when studying them, physicists have proposed stranger hypotheses still, with one suggesting that they imply we live in a holographic universe where all of what we see and perceive is in fact encoded at our universe's boundary, a 3D plus time representation of a two-dimensional plus time universe. Further than that, some have suggested that it could imply that our universe is within a black hole of a larger universe. Escape. Their existence posed a problem when studying them in terms of thermodynamics. The final state of a black hole, when it reaches equilibrium, is dependent only on 3 parameters: mass, angular momentum, and electric charge. In classical general relativity, a black hole prevents any particle or form of radiation from escaping from its cosmic prison. French astrophysicist Jean-Pierre Lemanent explained in a 2016 review. For an external observer, when a material body crosses an event horizon, all knowledge of its material properties is lost. Only the new values of m, or mass, j, angular momentum, and q, electric charge, remain. As a result, a black hole swallows an enormous amount of information. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Or at least as simple as physics can get. But if a black hole has mass, and they have a lot of it, then they should have a temperature according to the first law of thermodynamics. And in line with the second law of thermodynamics, they should radiate heat. Stephen Hawking showed that black holes should emit radiation, now termed Hawking radiation, formed at the black hole's boundary. Hawking then pointed to a paradox. If a black hole can evaporate, a portion of the information it contains is lost forever. So then it continues. The information contained in thermal radiation emitted by a black hole is degraded. It does not recapitulate information about matter previously swallowed by the black hole. The irretrievable loss of information conflicts with one of the basic postulates of quantum mechanics. According to the Schrödinger equation, physical systems that change over time cannot create or destroy information, a property known as unitarity. This is known as a black hole information paradox, and given how it appears to violate our current understanding of the universe, it has been a study of a lot of it's been the subject of a lot of study and debate. And that's it. Let me check something here real quick. So I guess what they're suggesting is that if the information is still there, then we could indeed exist inside of it. Oh well, I don't know. It's beyond me. Does anybody want to talk about this or have any comments or questions? I'm not sure I could even answer them if you did have a question. But any comments, please come out. All right, I guess I stumped everybody. You can go ahead and Google this. There's a number. This has just recently been announced. This was this week, so you may find some more complete articles out there. I had to throw that one together pretty quickly. So here we go. Next up, let me go ahead and ask if there's additional check-ins at this point, and then we'll move on to the next section, which will be What's Up. Anyone else want to join us? Please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. Okay, well, let's go ahead and go to What's Up. That would be Chaz, K5JHA. Chaz, you're up.
Thank you again, Tom. Good evening, everyone, once again. And Brenda, don't feel bad. I've had Bob the Cat intervene with me on Skynet a few times, and it's been interesting. I also had a computer crash in the middle of Skynet one time, but I was able to pull out another computer and get it booted up before I had to do a segment on here. So it all works out somehow, some way. So once again, this is Chaz, KF5JHA. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the last couple of weeks and what will take place over the next couple of weeks and beyond. Yeah, there's a pretty picture of me over there on YouTube. You know, if you have a video version of YouTube, you can take a look at some interesting things I'm going to show you in a little bit. That was slide number 2. Slide number 3, let's take a look at the current evening sky. Face southwest in this evening sky. Orion can be found by looking for 3 stars of equal brightness in a straight line and evenly spaced. This is the belt of Orion. There are 2 bright stars above the belt that represent Orion's shoulders. The brighter one on the left is Betelgeuse, and the one on the right is Bellatrix. 2 bright stars below Orion's belt are Orion's knees. One is to the left is Scius, and the one to the right is Rigel. You've heard about the Rigel star a few times in Star Trek, yeah. Slide master, slide number 4. Now, using Orion's belt and drawing down and to the left, you'll run into the brightest star in the sky other than the sun. Yes, I'm serious about it. Oh, wait, it's called Sirius. It's a doggone good star. Okay, there's two jokes right there back to back. Because it's called the Dog Star, Sirius is the brightest star in the constellation of the Big Dog, which is Canis Major. Slide Master, slide number 5. Now, if you go back to Orion's belt and draw a line from the belt stars up and to the right, you should run into the brightest star in Taurus the Bull, Aldebaran. And keep on going in a straight line just a bit more, and you should see a little cluster of faint stars called the Pleiades. I've even seen the Pleiades from a few miles away from downtown Dallas with just my 2 eyes. Aldebaran's stellar classification is a K53 star. Betelgeuse's classification is a M1I, which is... So what are these classifications? Anyway, slide master, slide number 6. The stars are classified by temperature and luminosity. The temperature ratings are actually letters. The hottest stars are type O, and the coolest types are M. The types run from O, B, A, F, G, K, M. We remember the order using a mnemonic. O, B, A, fine girl, kiss me. The hottest stars, type O, are more than 30,000 degrees Kelvin at their surface. Type B stars are between 10,000 and 30,000 degrees Kelvin. Type A stars are between 7,500 to 10,000 degrees Kelvin. Type F stars are between 6,000 and 7,500 degrees Kelvin. Type G stars are between 5,200 and 6,000 degrees K. Type K stars are between 3,700 to 5,200 degrees K. And M-type stars are 37 degrees Kelvin or less. Now, there's actually a couple of categories below that, L and T. They're reserved for brown dwarfs, which I don't consider stars. There's also another category called D for dwarfs. Oh, well. Now, let me see. There are 10 subclassifications within each type. Type O9 and type B0 are next to each other on the scale. This is called the Harvard Classification System. It was developed by Annie Jump Hannon. We've talked about her on past Skynets, and I'm sure we will talk about her again on future Skynets. Slide Master, slide number 7, please. Luminosity classification system of stars are rated in Roman numerals 0 through VII, which is 7. Main sequence stars, like our Sun, is rated as a V, which is 5. Hypergiants are rated as a 0, while dwarf stars are rated as a VII, which is 7. This classification system, luminosity classification system, is called the Morgan-Canaan system. When I attended the Ohio State University, Dr. Canaan was a professor emeritus, meaning he was retired. But he still had an office and came in a time or two each week. I got to see him occasionally in the astronomy department. I remember a graduate student would hand him a glass plate containing the spectra of a star, but oriented backwards to try to fool Dr. Canaan. He would immediately reorient the glass plate, hand it back to the graduate student, and tell them the exact classification of the star. And he was always correct. The Morgan-Canaan classification system of our Sun is G25. Slide Master, slide number 8, please. Now, we talked about the predicted nova of T Corona Borealis, which may erupt at any time. It is currently at a brightness around 10th magnitude, which is much too faint to see with just your 2 eyes. But when it goes nova, T Corona Borealis could become as bright as the North Star. Now, I can see the North Star with just my 2 eyes from my very light-polluted location here in the sea, and that would be a magnitude 2 star. Interesting. It hasn't done it. It was supposed to do it maybe last September, and we're still waiting for it, and it's April. Well, it's almost April, isn't it? Slide Master, slide number 9. The image you're seeing is from Thursday, March the 13th, using my ZWO C-Star S50. The large sunspot complexes on the Sun are so large that at times you can just use your solar eclipse glasses to see them. the sun is around its 11-year solar maximum. Now, when is that going to occur? We don't know until after it happens. Now, I talked about the solar cycle a couple of months ago on Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 10. On March 13th, 14th, there was a full moon, and there was also a total lunar eclipse visible in North Texas. Details about the lunar eclipse will be covered in just a few moments in this segment of Skynet. So the current phase of the moon is a waning gibbous. I can see it out my window rising through clouds. It reminds me of Thursday night. On March the 17th, the moon will be at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 405,754 kilometers. On March 22nd, there will be a third quarter phase of the moon. On March the 29th, the moon will be new. On March the 30th, the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 358,128 kilometers. Slide Master, slide number 11. Okay, here we go about the eclipse on March the 13th, 14th. That was Thursday night into Friday morning. Was a total lunar eclipse. The lunar eclipse occurs when our moon moves into the shadow of the Earth. Most of the time, the moon moves just above or below the Earth's shadow as it orbits. But a couple times a year, the moon travels into the Earth's shadow. Now, there's a lighter part of the Earth's shadow called the penumbra, and a darker part of the shadow called the umbra. When the moon moves completely into the umbra part of the Earth's shadow, we have what's called a total lunar eclipse. The eclipse on March the 13th, 14th was a total lunar eclipse. Now, the last total lunar eclipse before that one was visible in Dallas on November the 8th, 2022. The next total lunar eclipse visible from Dallas is going to be on March the 3rd, 2026. A little bit less than a year. Okay, Slide Master, slide number 12. The theme of the eclipse was clouds, clouds, and clouds. That was the real highlight of the eclipse. After making lots of plans to image the eclipse with both my C-Star cameras, I was about to go to sleep through the entire event because I couldn't even see the moon through the clouds around 10 o'clock p.m. I received a text message and a moon pic from my sister-in-law who lives in Keller of the moon peeking through the clouds at about 11 o'clock. So I started working on setting up both these stars and started taking images a few minutes later. Slide Master, slide number 13. So here are 8 images of the moon through the clouds of the eclipse using the C-Star S50. At 11:27 p.m., the moon had already entered the penumbra shadow of the Earth for about 20 minutes. And you can notice that about 30 minutes. You can notice that the darkening in the lower left-hand side of the moon. By 12:09 a.m., the moon begins to enter the umbra, the darker part of the Earth's shadow. The next picture is when the moon is about halfway into the umbra shadow. At 12:26 a.m., the moon is completely inside the umbra. And at mid-eclipse at 2 a.m., the moon looks like the planet Mars with an ice cap to me, anyway. And at 2:31 a.m., the moon begins to move out of the umbra. The last picture of the moon in this sequence is the moon is halfway out of the umbra at about 3 a.m. And the last image is when the moon has left the umbra at around 3:48 a.m. Now, all these pics were taken through cloud cover. Some of the times the clouds were thin, some of them were a little bit thicker, but my C-Star did really well. Slide Master, slide number 14. A little bit more than 2 weeks ago, I received a new VWO C-Star, an S30. It is a smaller and has a smaller lens compared to the S50, but I think it has a better detector and, in my opinion, has better internal computer software and setup. So I took pictures of the eclipse with both the C-Star S50 and the C-Star S30. On the Skynet video version that you can see, the S30 has a smaller image and lower resolution than the S50. But the S30, since it is smaller, it is faster setup time and it has a wider field of view. I'm still experimenting with both C-Star Astro cameras, and I'm delighted with both so far. Hopefully the end of April I'll be in very dark skies where I can test both of them out. Thank you for the comments over there on Echolink about the pics. I'm just lucky that I have the Sea Star. Slide Master, slide number 15. On March the 16th, the Moon and Spica will be in conjunction in the early morning sky. Slide number 16. On March the 20th at 4:01 a.m. Central Daylight Time is the moment of vernal equinox, which is the beginning of spring for the northern hemisphere. On this day, everywhere on the Earth, the sun will rise directly in the east and set directly in the west. And there is 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness, again, everywhere on the Earth. The only other time of the year when this happens is the autumnal equinox in September. Interesting. Slide Master, slide number 17. On March the 20th, the Moon and Antares will be in conjunction in the early morning sky. Slide Master, slide number 18. On March the 28th, the Moon and Saturn will be in conjunction in the early morning eastern sky. Slide Master, slide number 19. On March the 31st, the planet Mars and the bright star Pollux are in conjunction in the evening sky. Slide Master, slide number 20. And on April the 1st, now I'm not fooling about this, the star cluster M45, also known as the Pleiades, will be called by the Moon in the afternoon daytime sky. Now, you might be able to see this if you have a telescope, but your two eyes are not going to see it because the stars are too faint to see in the daytime. But a telescope might be able to pull this out. Yeah. This is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 21. Do any of you out there in Radio Land have a question or need a fill on any of the information? Or do you just have a general astronomy question? Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill.
Kilo 5, Julia, Delta Whiskey, John and Coppell.
John, long time no see in person. What's your question or comment?
On a previous Skynet, I had asked you a question about the moon. I saw a program that said the moon is shrinking. Have you checked into that? K5JW.
I did look into that, and it is so slightly shrinking because it's still cooling off. And it's cooling off, and it's causing the moon surface to crack a little bit. Interesting. There's a name for those cracks. Maybe we'll talk about what the name of those things are in a future Skynet. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. K5JW.
John, that's what makes Skynet great, because we get to go back and forth with questions and answers. Slide Master, slide number 22. So as the moon wanes, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live, right now anyway. And until next time, actually I'll be doing another Skynet segment in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JJ, back to our net control. Tom, it's yours.
All right, thank you, Chaz. And yes, he will be back. So stay tuned. So next up is space exploration and space history. Let's see, we have space exploration and news tonight, so let me bring that up. We have Rocket Lab launches Japanese SAR satellite. It launched a synthetic aperture radar SAR imaging satellite for the Japanese company March 14th, the first of 8 such missions Rocket Lab has under contract with that customer. Electron rocket lifted off from Pad B of Rocket Lab's Launch Complex 1 in the Haya Peninsula in New Zealand at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The payload, a QPS SAR-9 satellite, separated from the kick stage nearly an hour later after being placed into a planned orbit of 575 kilometers and an inclination of 42 degrees. The satellite is the latest for the Institute of Kyushu Pioneers of Space, Incorporated, IQPS, a Japanese company with long-term ambitions to operate a constellation of 36 SAR satellites to provide high-resolution radar imagery. Yesterday, NASA launched the SpaceX Crew 10 to the International Space Station. 4 members of the NASA SpaceX Crew 10 mission launched at 7:03 Eastern Daylight Friday at Launch Complex 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida for a science expedition aboard the International Space Station. The Falcon 9 rocket propelled the Dragon spacecraft into orbit, carrying NASA astronauts Ann McCain, Nicholas Ayers, JAXA astronaut Takoya Onushi, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Kirill Peskov. The spacecraft will dock autonomously to the forward-facing port of the station's Harmony module at approximately 11:30 p.m. That would be Eastern time, so 10:30, so probably about a half an hour on Saturday, March 15th. Shortly after docking, the crew will join Expedition 7273 for a long-duration stay aboard the orbiting laboratory. Let's see here. Next up, SpaceX launches Transporter 13 rideshare mission. This was more than 70 payloads in the latest in a series of dedicated rideshare missions that reshaped the small satellite industry. The Falcon 9 lifted off from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California on March 15th on Transporter 13 mission. This is the second of 3 launches the company performed in a little more than 12 hours after the launch of Crew 10 from the Kennedy Space Center and before the launch of Starlink satellites from Cape Canaveral. SpaceX said Transporter 13 carried 74 payloads, including hosted payloads and satellites that will be deployed later from an orbital transfer vehicle by D-Orbit. SpaceX website listed 47 separate deployments planned over 90 minutes. Next up, our birthdays. Lowell Clark was born on March 10, 1961. She flew on STS-107. Curtis Brown, born March 11, 1956. Curtis flew STS-47, 66, 77, 85, 95, and 103. Bingo! Patricia Robertson, born March 12, 1963. She had no flights and had died in a plane crash. Wally Schirra was born March 12, 1923. Mercury Atlas 8, Gemini 6, or Gemini 6A, and Apollo 7. Gene Cernan was born March 14, 1934. He flew on Gemini 9A, Apollo 10, and Apollo 17. Frank Borman, born March 14, 1928, flew Gemini 7 and Apollo 8. Michael Finke, he was born March 14th, March 14th, 1960. I was right. Soyuz TMA-4, Expedition 9, TMA-13, STS-134, and Boeing Starliner 1. We have also, and I guess he's coming home here soon, Michael B. Lenore, March 14, 1939, flew STS-5. And then the last, Alan Bean, born March 15, 1932, flew on Apollo 12 and Skylab 3. So we had a bunch of early astronaut birthdays from the first, second, and third classes of astronauts. That was pretty cool, I thought. Next up is March 9th, 2011 in space history. Space Shuttle Discovery completed her final mission, touching down at NASA's Kennedy Space Center at 11:57 Eastern Standard Time. Discovery first launched in 1984, the third shuttle orbiter introduced into the fleet. She flew a total of 39 missions, more than any other shuttle, made more than 5,800 orbits around the Earth, and carried 252 crew members into space. Among them were a number of trailblazers. Eileen Collins became the first female shuttle pilot and commander on Discovery. Bernard Harris became the first African American to perform a spacewalk. Senator Jack Garn became the first sitting member of Congress in space, and Senator John Glenn became the oldest person to fly in space. Discovery was the first, until William Shatner recently. Who'd guess, right? Discovery was the first shuttle to dock with the International Space Station on STS-86 after the delivery of the Unity module. On her final mission, the crew STS-133 attached a permanent multi-purpose module to the International Space Station. After retirement, Discovery was delivered to the Smithsonian Institution and is now on display in the National Air and Space Museum. And this is KE5ICX. On March 10, 2006, the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, or MRO, entered orbit around Mars. After firing its 6 main engines for about 25 minutes, it split MRO into a long elliptical orbit. Over the next 6 months, MRO used close passes through the upper atmosphere of Mars, known as aerobraking, to slow itself by 1,000 meters per second and arrive in a near circular science orbit. Built by Lockheed Martin under the supervision of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, MRO was designed to analyze soil and surface features to determine the history of planetary water sources, both on and under the surface. The spacecraft was also outfitted with one of the largest cameras known on the planetary mission up to that point in order to observe geological and water features that could obstruct or damage landing or roving vehicles. Well past the planned 2-year primary science mission, MRO starts its 18th year in orbit around Mars, continuing to analyze the science of water on Mars and providing telecommunications relay for our spacecraft on and around Mars. In 1960, Pioneer 5 was launched from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station to begin research on the space between Earth and Venus. It carried 6 scientific instruments used to measure magnetic field phenomena, solar flare particles, and ionization of the interplanetary region. Pioneer 5 set over 3 billion bits of data back to Earth at a maximum speed of 64 bits per second. That's 64 bits per second. Regular data transmissions lasted only until the end of April 1960. The last communication of any sort with Pioneer 5 came in the then record distance of 22.5 million miles on June 26, 1960. Data from Pioneer 5 confirmed the existence of magnetic fields throughout the solar system. March 12, 2015, NASA's 4 identical magnetosphere multi-scale spacecraft, or MMS, launched from Cape Canaveral. This mission is the first space mission dedicated to studying a phenomenon called magnetic reconnection, a process thought to be a catalyst for some of the most powerful energy explosions in our solar system. The process occurs when magnetic fields connect, disconnect, and reconfigure explosively, which releases bursts of energy. The MMS's mission goal is to provide the first 3-dimensional views of the reconnection happening in Earth's magnetosphere. As of March 2020, the MMS spacecraft have enough fuel to remain operational until 2040. On March 13, 1969, Apollo 9 splashed down 56 years ago after completing one of the program's most underrated test missions. The Apollo 9 spacecraft, with astronauts James McDivitt, David Scott, and Russell Schweigert aboard, approaches touchdown in the Atlantic recovery to conclude a successful 10-day Earth orbital space mission. Splashdown occurred at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, March 13, 1969, only 4.5 nautical miles from the primary recovery ship, the USS Guadalcanal. March 16, 1966, was the first successful space docking. Spacecraft docking capability depends on space rendezvous and the ability of 2 spaceships to find each other and station keep in the same orbit. This was first developed in the United States for Project Gemini and was planned for the crew of Gemini 6 to rendezvous and manually dock under the command of Wally Schirra with an uncrewed Agena target vehicle in October of 1965. But the Agena vehicle exploded during launch. On a revised mission, Gemini 6A, Schirra successfully performed a rendezvous in December 1965 with the crewed Gemini 7 approaching to within 0.3 meters or 1 foot, but there was no docking capability between the 2 spacecraft. The first spacecraft docking was performed under the command of Neil Armstrong between Gemini 8 and an uncrewed Agena target vehicle on March 16th. 1966. Manual dockings were performed on 3 subsequent missions in 1966. Boy, we had a lot of stuff here. Let's see. How are we doing on time? We're doing okay. March 17, 1958, the launch of Vanguard 1. It was the 4th satellite ever launched into space, following Sputniks 1 and 2 and Explorer 1. It looks a lot like a miniature version of the Sputnik. Vanguard 1 was tiny compared to the satellites that came before it. It's about the size of a grapefruit and only weighed 3 pounds. The solar technology allowed the satellite to transmit signals to Earth for 7 years, while battery-powered satellites didn't even last a month. Scientists think that the satellite will deorbit by the year 2198 after spending 240 years in space. March 18, 1965, the launch of Voskhod 2. This was a Soviet crewed space mission in 1965. The Vostok-based Voskhod 3KD spacecraft with 2 crew members on board, Pavlo Balyaev and Alexei Leonov, was equipped with an inflatable airlock. It established another milestone in space exploration, where Alexei Leonov became the first person to leave the spacecraft in a specialized space suit to conduct a 12-minute spacewalk. On the same date, March 18, 2016, launch of Soyuz TMA-20M was to the International Space Station and transported 3 members of the Expedition 47 crew to the ISS. TMA-20M was the 129th flight of a Soyuz spacecraft. The crew consisted of a Russian commander and flight engineer, as well as an American flight engineer. It was the final Soyuz TMA-22M, 27M, 30M, which was replaced by the upgraded Soyuz TMA-28M in 2016. Also, let's see, March 19, 2008 was the death of Arthur C. Clarke, an English science fiction writer, futurist, inventor, undersea explorer, television series host, and frequently mentioned on the Afterglow movie net. He co-wrote the screenplay for the 1968 film 2001: A Space Odyssey, widely regarded as one of the most influential films of the time. Clarke was a science fiction writer and avid popularizer of space travel and a futurist distinguished ability. Clarke died in Sri Lanka on March 19, 2008, after suffering a respiratory failure. Just hours before Clarke's death, a major gamma-ray burst, or GRB, reached Earth, known as GRB 080319b. The burst set a new record as the farthest object that could be seen from Earth with the naked eye. It occurred about 7.5 billion years ago, the light taking that long to reach Earth. Larry Sessions, a science writer for Sky and Telescope magazine, blogging on earthsky.org, suggested the burst be named the Clarke event. And with that was rather lengthy, but I think rather informative. We'll now take additional check-ins, and then we'll move on to Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Anyone else want to join us or have any questions? Please come with your call sign now. Okay, hearing none, it's time for Chaz again, KF5JHA. What do you have for us for Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week?
Thank you, Tom. Slide Master, slide number 23. And Tom's the slide master over there on YouTube, so just wanted to let you know. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key, Carolyn, KC50ZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 till May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Now, since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year, out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Ms. Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. In her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Ms. Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is actually a twofer: Lynx, the Wildcat, and Cancer, the Crab. Lynx is one of the more recent constellations, first appearing in 1690 on a star map. Before this, the stars in this region were sometimes depicted as a tiger, but that has fallen out of disuse. For those who enjoy observing double stars, Lynx is known for a collection of double stars. Now, one of the most important things for Skynet, or Jokes of the Week, I have two because, well, I have two segments of jokes because one's for one constellation, one's for another one. Slide Master, slide number 24, the first segment of Jokes of the Week. Now, if you're new to Skynet, you can boo or hiss over there on Echolink. I can see that. I can't hear you because I'm keying up, so you can't key up and boo and hiss at me because I've got the mic. But anyway, over on YouTube, you can chat on that as well, on the YouTube segment. So here we go. When I search Canadian cats in Google, it just gives me a bunch of links. Get it? Like the cat links? Oh. Do you hear about the bobcat who found his long-lost cousin? He followed Lynx in his family tree. What are those big cats over there? Blue. Why? Why are those big cats over there blue? Oh, they're just hyperlinks. Did you hear about the lady who bought a fur coat? She wanted to be the Miss and Lynx. Get it? Miss and Lynx? This lynx just ate 50 rabbits. I guess it was having a bad hair day. Okay, this is KF5JHA and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 25. Must be doing well. I didn't get any bad comments over there on Echolink or on the YouTube chat sessions. To find Lynx, start at Orion and go north, and you should arrive at Capella, which is about overhead. Then you go to the left or east, and you should run into the faint stars of the constellation of Lynx. Slide Master, slide number 26. 12 Lyncus, a triple star system with A and B components separated by only 1.5 times the diameter of our own solar system, giving a separation of 1.7 arcseconds as seen from the Earth. Component C is about 8.7 arcseconds from the AB pair. Another multiple star system, 38 Lynxus A, nice double star with different colors between the two members. Slide Master, slide number 27. NGC, which stands for New General Catalog, 2419 is a very distant globular cluster containing it used to be known as the Intergalactic Wanderer because for many years it was believed not to be a part of the Milky Way's family of globular clusters. But nowadays, however, it is generally accepted to be a long, highly elliptical orbit around the Milky Way. NGC 2419 is believed for many years, has been believed to be for many years the most distant globular cluster until further and much fainter globular clusters have been finally found. The most recent estimates of NGC 2419 is about 300,000 light years from our solar system. Wow, that's a distance quite a ways away in our Milky Way galaxy still. Slide Master, slide number 28. The constellation of Cancer the Crab represents the crab that Juno sent to further harass and distract Hercules while he battled the monstrous Hydra. The crab nipped at his toes with his claws and was soon crushed and killed by Hercules. Juno placed it in the sky to commemorate the crab. Slide Master, slide number 29. The jokes for the week for Cancer the Crab. So how do crustaceans celebrate birthdays? Oh, come on. Someone knows this one. It's an easy one. With crab cakes. What do you call a crab that doesn't like to share? That would be called a shellfish. Why did the hermit crab refuse to go into its shell? Because it was claustrophobic. What do you call a female crab who is also single? Well, you call her Miss Shell. A crab walks into the bar, and the bartender says, fill in the blank. What does the bartender say? I can't serve you. You're already walking sideways. Slide master, slide number 30, please. To find Cancer, you can go south of Lynx, but you can also find it in between the constellations of Leo and Gemini. Slide master, slide number 31. Zeta Centauri is also known as Tigameni. Tigameni? Yeah, okay, that's what I'm going to call it, which means the covering, referring to the crab's shell or exoskeleton. It's a triple star system. Some shifts in the orbit of star C, and this D component was finally physically resolved using an adaptive optics camera on a 3.6 meter Canadian French Hawaii telescope in the year 2000. Wow, a triple star system. Slide master, slide number 32. M44 is also known as the beehive cluster or the Perseus, which is the Latin for manger. The beehive nickname is relatively recent, although it comes from the same name. It turns out to be the word Perseus is interpreted either as manger or beehive. The manger interpretation is the older of the two, and it represents the manger in which the two donkeys were feeding. The beehive interpretation is also appropriate since the stars in the cluster resemble a swarm of bees. From dark sky side, M44 is easily visible to the unaided eye as a fuzzy patch of light in the heart of the Cancer of the crab. With a telescope in the year 1610, Galileo was the first to reveal M44's true nature and resolve it into stars, describing it as a mass of more than 40 small stars. At times, the moon will pass in front of M44, providing a night of many occultations of the beehive star cluster. Slide master, slide number 33. M67 is another open cluster lying about 9 degrees south of M44 in Cancer, easily found just west of Alpha Centauri. Sharp-eyed viewers can see it with an unaided eye with dark skies under very good conditions. It provides an interesting comparison with M44 because it is much further away at 2,600 light years compared to M44's 515 light years. M67 is also unusual in a different way. Its stellar population is unlike most galactic open clusters, but instead the stars with spectral colors and magnitudes more like a globular star cluster. M67 is also so intensely studied that accurate colors and magnitudes are known for over 500 of the stars, down to 16th magnitude. In a telescope, M67 is a nice open cluster. Much has been written about the appearance of M67. To some, the stars in M67 is an interesting pattern forming the shape of a bird or a dragon with outstretched wings. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet on the W5FC repeater. Slide master, slide number 34. There's a few more Astronomical League observing program objects from the constellation of Lynx, the Wildcat, and Cancer the Crab. I've given you just a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 74 different observing programs. Most of them have about 100 objects. Now, if you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen from the Astronomical League in about a year. Slide master, slide number 35, and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, or Constellations of the Week, Lynx, the Wildcat, and Cancer the Crab. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Horwald for their research and work on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now, next week we'll take a look at another twin of constellations, Leo the Lion and Leo Minor, the Small Lion. And this is KF5JHA Chaz saying good night and 73 back to our net control. Tom, it's all back to you.
All right, thank you, Chaz. And this is KE5ICX Net Control for tonight's Skynet. So next up is, let me see, whoopsie. Well, let's do this. I didn't put in, well, hold on just a second. I can read these straight up. I did not put in tonight's launches for the week, but I'll just read them off the site, and you can follow along if you'd like, if you're on the video side of it. March 17th, 18th, we have the Electron High 5 launch from Launch Complex 1, Pad A at Mahia, New Zealand. This Rocket Lab Electron rocket will launch the fifth and final batch of nanosatellites for the Internet of Things, CNES. This will complete the French company's 25-satellite constellation. Rocket Lab has not announced plans to recover the first stage booster on this mission, which they've been doing. We have on March 18th, Falcon 9, Starlink 12-25, which will launch from Cape Canaveral SLC-40, another batch of Starlink V2 mini satellites. A little more than 8 minutes after liftoff, first stage booster will touch down on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. We have April 8th, Soyuz 2.1A launch of MS-27. This is will launch a three-man crew to the International Space Station. Crew Commander Sergei Ryazanov will be joined by fellow cosmonaut Alexei Zubritsky and NASA astronaut Johnny Kim. Soyuz is set to dock with the ISS around 5:04 a.m. Eastern Daylight. The spacecraft will remain docked at the orbiting outpost until December 8th of 2025. Then we have in the spring, New Glenn will fly Escapade. This is a launch from Launch Complex 36 at Cape Canaveral. It'll be a pair of identical satellites. We've talked about these before. Escapade and named Blue and Gold will roughly 11-month journey to Mars, where they'll do an 11-month science mission orbiting the red planet. Then we have to be determined Vulcan Centaur Dream Chaser 1. We're still waiting on that one, SLC-41 from Cape Canaveral Space Force Base. This will be the winged Dream Chaser cargo vehicle that should become operational soonish. We missed its ride back a few months ago because it was not ready for launch. So that's it on that. Next up is Heavens Above, which includes passes for the International Space Station and for Tiangong-1. You see what I can find here. The ISS is showing March 16th, just one pass at 20:24 a.m., 0.7 magnitude. This is the only pass, so it's not that hot. It's only reaching about 11 degrees at 20:25. Will fall to the north-northwest at 10 degrees. Tiangong was a little better. This one has every night a different pass, actually in the morning. March 18th has a good pass, minus 1.9 magnitude at 6:43 a.m. out of the southwest. Reaches highest point at 63 degrees at 6:46, and it'll fall to the east-northeast at 6:49. March 20th has a good pass, minus 2.1 magnitude at 6:22 a.m. again out of the west. Reaches highest point at 64 degrees at 6:23, and it'll fall to the east-northeast at 6:26. The 20th also shows a good pass, minus 2.1 magnitude. That's actually a really good pass. 6:22 a.m. Reaches highest point at 64 degrees at 6:23. It'll fall to the east-northeast at 6:26. I know lots of numbers, right? March 21st we'll have March 22nd has a good pass, minus 1.2 magnitude at 6 o'clock a.m. That one comes out of shadow at 6 o'clock out of the north-northwest at 36 degrees, and it'll fall to 6:03. And then March 22nd, it reaches, I already read that, March 22nd. So at any rate, when you're looking at these, while we don't have much for the ISS, you can see the Chinese space station with very good viewing angle and decent magnitude here in Dallas area. So let's see here. Let me see. We've reached the end of the net and all the materials we're covering tonight. Let me go ahead and ask if there's any additional check-ins, or if you have any questions about anything you'd like to bring to the net, please come with your call sign. So check-ins and rechecks, please come down. Okay, it's a quiet group tonight. That's okay. That happens from time to time. Let's see here and get the count here. We got 11. Oh, it's going to be easy. So tonight we had 22 hams participating on the air, including the net control. I want to thank all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration, because on this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. So try your hand at this. Contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics, discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook, X, and other audio-video streams, video archives, and other useful resources. These go back almost, 12, 13 years now? So you can see me when I was younger and had darker hair. Until next Saturday night, this is Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray Tom, and I'll be closing the net at 22:25 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. And 73, everybody, enjoy the evening discovering the universe. But wait, that's not all. Don't forget, we have the Afterglow Movie Net coming up here in just a bit. Our afternoon movie, Afterglow movie, is Battle in Outer Space. Battle in Outer Space. So come back in 5 minutes. That's plenty of time to go microwave 4-minute popcorn. So come on by, and we'll discuss this fine film. 5 minutes from now, Battle in Outer Space. Thanks, everyone, for checking in. This is KE5ICX, now clear.
Afterglow Net Control is ready on service, sir. We have sent the missions to the moon, and they have come back. See you in 5 to 10 minutes inside BB.
Well, thank you, Bill. I think you're going to enjoy this too darn much. It's a juicy movie. It should be a lot of fun. I'll see you in 5, KE5ICX.
Oh, yeah. I just finished it. It's kind of interesting for a 1959 movie. It's got a combination of things I like and cheesy things, and it's got special effects that are kind of okay, and it's some that are pretty not good. But it's a 1959 sci-fi Japanese English movie. To tell you the truth, it's pretty good when you describe it that way. See you in a few in 5BB.
Normal state.
I'm completely operational, and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net. Come back in a couple more minutes for Afterglow. This is N5BB. Okay. This is N5BB, November 5, Bravo, Bravo. I am your esteemed net control for the Afterglow net this evening. We're going to talk about a fine flick called Battle in Outer Space. Tom, K5ICX, can you read us an extremely accurate synopsis of this fine film?
Oh, I suppose I could, Bill. Do you want the real one, or do you want the one that I gave?
Oh, why don't we give it a real one?
Roger, Roger. So this is what it says from Wiki. It says in 1965, which is the far future, a series of mysterious and devastating incidents are happening on Earth. These incidents range from railroad bridge to levitating off the ground, causing train wreck in Japan, an ocean liner lifted out of the Panama Canal by a water spout, destroying it, severe flooding in Venice, Italy, and the destruction of the ever-popular JSS-3 space station. The UN-connected international meeting is called the Space Research Center in Japan. Major Ichiro Kamisumiya and Professor Adachi and Dr. Richardson opened the conference and described the disasters, adding that the survivors suffered from extreme frostbite. Dr. Richardson theorized that some unknown force lowered the temperatures of the objects so that as to lower the Earth's gravitational pull. Thus making the objects easier to lift regardless of their size and weight. Katsumiya determines that such an action could only be accomplished by a force beyond the Earth. Yeah, no kidding. And a writer with rabid imagination. Dr. Ahmed, an Iranian delegate at the meeting, reacts as though suffering from a severe headache and slips away. He walks outside the courtyard in a daze. Atsuko Shirashi sees him and watches in horror as he's enveloped in a red light coming from the sky. Astronaut Oramura comes in and Atsuko tells him what happened, but Ahmed is nowhere to be seen. Back at the conference, believe the aliens might be behind the disasters and suggest that Earth may be prepared militarily. Dr. Ahmed appears and tries to sabotage the He-Ray experiments held at the meeting. He's caught before completing his experiment. His mission, he briefly takes his hostage and warns the Earth will soon become a colony of the planet Natal. Ahmed's hand is injured. He makes a run for it. However, the Natal saucer appears near the center and vaporizes him, but forensics find a tiny radio transmitter that was put in him. The transmissions locate the suspect's aliens on the moon. Where have we heard this before? UN decides to launch 2 rocket ships called SPIPs, or SPIP, to the moon on a reconnaissance mission. En route, both ships are attacked by remote-controlled meteors called space torpedoes. That's it, torpedoes. Awamura and the navigator SPIP-1 is also under the mind control of the aliens. He's caught trying to disable the rocket's weapons and is tied up. Both SPIPs avoid the meteors and are given a warning by the Natal not to land on the moon, but of course it's ignored. Once the rockets land on the moon, the 2 teams look for the alien base in lunar rovers. Nice ones too. I wish there were an Oscar Mayer reader. Meanwhile, Iwamura has untied himself and blown up SPIP-1. They find a cave on foot and locate the Natal base in a deep crater. Asuko is temporarily captured by the Natal, but is rescued by Atsumiya. A beam weapon battle erupts as the teams attack the base. Natal base is destroyed, freeing Awamura and the aliens' mind control. Feeling guilty, Awamura stays behind to give covering fire, allowing SPIP-2 to escape. Back on Earth, the world prepares for the final conflict against Natal. Rocket fighter planes, based on the North American X-15 experimental rocket plane, which it really does look like, only with Japanese lettering on it, and atomic heat cannons are built to counter the invasion fleet. Eventually, the Natal saucers and their mothership approach Earth. Squadrons of scout ships converted into space freighters are sent up into space and engage in a massive dogfight with the saucers. The Natal mothership San Francisco. The mothership descends upon Tokyo and lays to the metropolis to waste with its anti-gravity ray. They've been through that a lot of times with Godzilla. The remaining saucers and motherships dance on the Space Research Center, but the atomic heat cannon finally destroy the mothership and Earth is saved. The end. There you go, Bill. Not bad, huh? Back to you, KE5 ICX.
Oh, I don't believe a word of it, Tom, but yeah, it's pretty neat. Well, you'll be glad to know that I have my left knee iced, and it's levitating. That's right. It's anti-gravity. It's going up. It's no longer down low. Oh, well, that's also because my foot is sitting on a chair. Why is my left knee iced? Because 6 weeks ago I had total knee replacement surgery, and they say to ice it to hold down the swelling. So I'm icing it right now to hold down the swelling as we go through this movie. Otherwise, my knee may just swell up, become inflamed. Anyway, yeah, it's elevating because it's cold. Can you believe that? Well, it really is iced. Okay, let's move ahead. This is the Afterglow movie. What do? Well, whatever we darn want to do, but what we really do is we talk about the movie. The movie we're talking about is the 1959 Japanese-American movie Battle in Outer Space, and in color. And we're going to first talk about the plot, and then the characterization, and then other things like special effects, music, titles, etc. Okay, let's get started. So far I have myself and KE5ICX. Who else wants to participate? Tell you what, let's try, I've got Echolink up, but let's try RF first. RF check-ins only. Who wants to participate in Afterglow this evening? This is in 5BB. RF only.
This is November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony here in Bird City. I saw about a third of the movie. You know, I'm probably going to finish it.
November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia, in Fort Worth.
Hey, Virginia, I forgot to ask. Did you see the movie?
I did see the movie.
Anybody else on RF? Okay, let's look at the Echolink. Rich, AG5PM, did you want to participate? So let's see. Brenda, WP50ZL, do you want to participate this evening, Afterglow?
This is WE50ZL. Yes, I would like to be a part of this group, and I did see the movie.
Very good. Brenda did see the movie. Jay, KG5BZW, come on in.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zoo Whiskey, Jay, and I did see the film.
Okay, does anybody else want to check in to the Afterglow net? This is N5BB. Okay, tonight I have myself, Tom, Tony, Virginia, Brenda, and Jay. So let's go up to Tom. Put you on the spot, Tom. What did you think about the plot of Battle in Outer Space? K5ICX, this is N5BB.
thank you, Bill, and thank you for doing the net tonight. I did not know that you were due to do the tech net, so you kind of did do double duty, and I appreciate it. It's surprisingly, it started out kind of goofy. You know, it's typical of what is it? The company that did this film are the same ones, I believe, that do the Godzilla movies. So lots of miniatures that look very familiar to us. The buildings look very familiar when everything blows up. Has that tiny look to it, the model look to it. But so you had that. But the story moved along pretty well. It's 93 minutes long, so it's not overly long. It was Toho, that's the company. I did not mind it. It was rather entertaining. We'll talk about special effects and all that, but I thought they did a fairly decent job for 1959. It moved along well. I think any kid would have liked it. And I'm a big kid anyway, so I thought that was pretty good. Some of the science was pretty reaching. I mean, we go and we freeze things and it gets lighter. I guess they're trying to think of ice cubes or something. I'm not sure, but whatever that means. The espionage part of it was okay, you know. The aliens, though, a little bit goofy. What is it they really want? But I won't go in there. Current events are just about as goofy as this movie, so I'm not sure exactly what to say there. But in any case, it was pretty out there overall, but super entertaining. I thought, they did some things that were cool with the Oscar Mayer lunar rovers. Were cool and dropping them down on the surface and using them. I mean, they had some smart ideas in the film. It was rather imaginative, and the spacecraft in that were quite fun. I got to be careful because I get into the technical aspects of it, but very entertaining. The ending was a bit predictable, I guess. They had to beat the aliens at their own game, but they did so quite well, and it did keep me awake. I watched the whole thing, so I'll let others chime in on this one, but I rather liked it. It was very entertaining. KE5ICX.
Very good, Tom. Tom gives it a thumbs up. Tony, NT5TM. You've only seen a part of it. What do you think so far?
Well, so far it's keeping my attention. To comment on the, I don't want to get ahead of all the other rounds. A fun bit of trivia is in the early scenes of this movie is a great chance to look at obsolete flags. If you've ever wondered what Canada's flag was like before they adopted the maple leaf, you get to see that. And China is presented with the old Kuomintang flag that Taiwan uses now. So, it is pretty dated, but it's fun. They're keeping it moving. The rising action is definitely rising here in we're just getting into Act 2. We've got the tension of the, hidden radio-controlled traitor, like he's a Cylon. So, for a 1959 B movie, I think it's actually pretty good, and I intend to finish it just because, why not? I read science fiction novels when I can't sleep, and some of them are awesome, but some of them are pretty rudimentary, and this is at least as good as old Robert Heinlein Juvenilia. So I'm actually impressed. I usually hate these old B movies, but this is cheesy but fun, and that's sometimes that's a nice thing to say about a movie. NT5TM.
Very good, Tony. Virginia, NV5F. This is NVAV BB. What did you think about the plot in Battle in Outer Space?
Okay, thanks, Bill. It was a very easy to follow, pretty linear plot, as I think was pretty typical of 50s sci-fi. Interestingly enough, it started kind of right in the middle of some action where you're just suddenly you're on this space station, which looked a lot like the Werner von Braun space station that they used in the Disney, that sort of design that he had that they used in the Disney shorts, and makes me wonder how this stacks up time-wise to those shorts. I can't remember when those were made. I want to say they were made in the late 50s. And yeah, it starts with some action, and then it gets right from that attack on the space station right to the attacks on Earth, and it's a little bit out there, a little supernatural, and things levitating, and then the aliens attacking, and they had an interesting sort of weapon that tore buildings apart, kind of like an invisible tornado, and I love what Tom said, because the whole time I was watching this, I was like, I keep waiting for Godzilla to show up, and now I know why. Everything definitely had that Godzilla / Ultraman, kind of feel to it. And I liked those shows when I was a kid. I loved Godzilla. They even had like Saturday morning cartoons of Godzilla, and he was a good guy, and he was like friends with these people that were always out at sea, and something was always happening. It was kind of a long, detailed plot, but it made sense, and the aliens kind of had mind control over the guy. That's a little tropey. It's a little cheaty, but especially because, like Tom was saying, the aliens were so cheesy that it's hard to kind of take them seriously after you've seen this guy like maliciously trying to sabotage the mission. Him, the Dr. Ahmed guy, and then the guy who's on the crew, trying to sabotage everything. I liked their death ray thing they had. That was kind of cool. I'm with other people. This had just the right amount of, before sci-fi was really serious, but still had a little bit of the, atomic age concerns, but not too much of that either. They ended up going to the moon, which is exciting. You get to see what they think the moon looks like, and they get in their Wienermobiles, which Stanley Kubrick totally ripped off for 2001, except that his could fly and didn't look as much like a hot dog. But those shiny suits they were wearing, I expected them to bust out a briefcase full of chicken sandwiches, but I digress. But yeah, and I liked how the guy was kind of taken over by the alien mind control and sabotaging and destroying one of the ships. Ended up sacrificing himself to stay behind and fight off the aliens. It had kind of two different climaxes. They had the one where they're in the final battle on the moon after they leave the disco flying saucer complex, where they ran into the aliens that were a cross between astronauts, teddy bears, and Jawas, and the guy sacrifices himself, and they get to go home, and then of course they get home, and I guess they get home just in time to warn everybody, and then all the countries get together, and so you have lots of cheesy UN scenes where you get to see out-of-date flags, and I hadn't thought much about the Canadian flag there, but I do recall it looked like kind of like a wannabe British flag, sort of in the flavor of Australia. That was kind of cool, but I always laugh at movies that have cheesy UN scenes, but whenever you have alien invasion movies, you have a lot of that. And you had a little love story in there, and and I like the Japanese flavor, even when they do things that are cheesy. I've just always liked the flavor and the pacing, and there's a little bit of a cultural difference in how people act, and so it's a little bit more frenetic and almost cartoony, and I don't think it's intentionally that way. I think there's just a difference in, just kind of how the cultures react and how they show emotions, and I find that this is maybe round 3 stuff, but I like that kind of thing to just kind of see how the plots pace and in Japanese stuff. But I thought this one was, it had a little bit of everything. It had space flight, it had battles, it had cool exploring the moon, it had a love story, it had a giant computer that makes an IBM 7090 kind of jealous, it had lots of rocket launching and weaponry and battles on Earth and supernatural stuff. So yeah, I enjoyed this one, and I could keep up with it, and I wasn't too distracted by how dumb it was, because it was a little bit dumb, but just the right amount of dumb. NV5S.
Oh, yeah, the United Nations. Yeah, very good. Also, I think the reason the buildings blew up is they made them cold. Remember, in their alternative physics, making them cold gets rid of gravity and even, I think, produces anti-gravity. I think that was probably what was happening. Anyway, let's go now to Brenda, WD5OZL. Brenda, what do you say about the plot of Battle in the Outer Space? This is N5BB, and this is the Afterglow Net.
This is WB5OZL. Well, I agree with Virginia. The flavor is different. That was kind of fun, a little more frenetic, but you could tell they weren't Americans. It was just a different culture. And the Japanese made a lot of these science fiction movies. The premise, the scientific premise, was a little, well, okay, it was just stupid. But, it's no worse than a lot of other movies have done. I was just having a little hard time buying that. I don't think they ever told us why the aliens had to pick a bone with us, what was going on with that. But, gotta have something to make the movie move along. There's a lot of things in movies that just don't make sense, but you have to suspend your disbelief just to make it happen. I enjoyed it. It was action-packed, and they had cool spaceships, and so you just kind of had to overlook some of the silliness of it. And for the time it was made, it wasn't too bad. I don't know why. I never heard of this before. I'd never seen it, and I'm not sure, why, whether it was ever very popular or not. All right, back to net. WB5OZL.
Very good, Brenda. Yes, the kind of thing I would think I would see Saturday afternoon TV in maybe the mid to late 60s. Okay, next we have Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, what do you think about the plot of Battle in Outer Space? This is N5BB, and this is the Afterglow Net.
All right, this is a Kilo Golf 5, Bravo's of the Whiskey. I don't know. It was a straightforward plot. It didn't quite make a lot of sense. A lot of places, not really enough for me to get angry at. I did have to speed through like the later portion of the movie, partially. I don't know. There were parts that just it seemed a little bit long, but and didn't really accomplish much at the end. I thought the Well, I don't know why that happened, but I don't know how much my transmission got through, but anyway, so I mean, there is a lot of this suspension of belief or disbelief or whatever. You have to make this movie work. It was a little bit annoying how, you got mind control. Obviously, they apparently have limited resources to do the mind control. I don't think the aliens really deployed their mind control their moves were maybe not the best choices. The tonal thing annoyed me because, I mean, if this is the route to the, your station, this is a Star Wars moment. It's like, why does your space station have this one, key point of failure that you just do this one thing and everything blows out? It is a little bit annoying that there's, okay, I guess there were aliens that were living in the tunnel and they were supposed to surround everybody or something whenever they went through or something. I don't know. It was annoying that there wasn't any sort of, guard or countermeasures or anything. It just, we just gotta go through here and blah 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 and blah blah blah. And I didn't think that the end was particularly satisfying. Although I will say, I did get a feeling of, it actually reminded me, instead of Star Wars, it reminded me more of Battlestar Galactica, the 1980s version, the actual fight scene. So this predating that is kind of interesting. Obviously both, I'm sure both stole kind of from here. It was I don't mind that I watched the film. There are decent aspects to it. A lack of explanation on the aliens part is probably my biggest concern. I mean, the lack of there's a bit of scientific nonsense aside. I'm just going to leave it at that. I think because, there's a lot of those things you can critique, but overall, it wasn't, it's terrible, but it was not terrible or anything. It did proceed along at a good pace and didn't really seem to be too terrible about it. So, maybe at the last person, but back to net control. KG5BZW.
Okay, thank you, Jay. We have one more person on the Echo Link now. W5BLT. Bill. Hey, Bill, did you see the movie? And what did you think about the plot? W5BLT. This is N5BB. Afterglow Net.
All right. Hi, Bill. I was going to just listen on Echo Link to see how my transmission was going because I noticed last week's net, it seemed like I was a little staticky, and I don't recall that being the case too much, so I was going to test both. But yes, I saw the movie, and I'll let you take more check-ins if there's any.
Okay, well, listen, are there any other check-ins to the net? This is N5BB. A little crackling in the background, but we can hear you okay, Bill. The wind is going to cause the little noise at the repeater site. Why don't you go and tell us what you thought about the plot, Bill? W5BLT, this is N5BB, Afterglow.net.
All right, we've seen these before. Aliens are just coming over to take over the Earth, and they take over planets, and they've been around for 100,000 years or more, and losing their civilization and then want to destroy ours for some reason. And so, we've kind of seen that plot before. But this was fun. I kind of like the Japanese movies. I love all the Godzilla movies, and yes, they're very similar, and Tokyo's always getting wiped out. It's getting wiped out more than Surf City does. I don't know if that is on Fridays anymore, but anyway, it is very prone to disasters, and Tokyo's always getting hit by something, but they rebuild very quickly for the next movie. And this movie was actually, it's debated on the internet and some of the reviews I saw that some people think it's a sequel to The Mysterians because it has some of the same actors. I think 3 people had the same name, although they were different actors. So some people say that they just kept the name and it has nothing to do with The Mysterians. But I think The Mysterians was released in 1956, and so maybe we should see if we can find it. I couldn't find it, but, I haven't looked on archives.org yet. But I liked the plot. It was fun. It moved along very quickly. The fight scenes were fun. And I just kind of love these movies for just the uniqueness of it. And yeah, I know that Japan at that time was cranking out a lot of these, and to me, that's just a lot of fun. And it's something that, as a kid, I used to watch on Friday nights or Saturday afternoons, and so that brought back good memories. Back to you, Bill, W5BLT.
Okay, Bill, thank you. Well, everybody saw the movie, and nobody hated it. And nearly everybody kind of liked it. That's pretty good for an Afterglow movie. I think it's my turn. And I like the plot. And I like the movie. It was corny. This is N5BB, Afterglow. There were corny parts of it. There was stupid science. There was a little bit of sound in space. Not a lot, a little bit. There was a little bit of wasted time near the end with fighting in space, just the same thing kind of over and over again, a little bit. But in general, the rest of the movie moved along pretty good. The plot was easy to understand. There were a few things that were left out. We didn't see an alien, to my knowledge. Not one of the invading aliens. Instead, in the moon tunnel, we saw some creatures, which I'm assuming have absolutely nothing to do with these invading aliens. Why do I say that? They had no weapons. They seemed to be pretty stupid, just kind of mindlessly collecting together. They didn't seem to be actually attacking the Earth people. They were just kind of attracted to them and kind of blocking them in. And and if you looked at the few close-ups you can see of their face, it was very comic looking. It was like a weird comic book face. And they didn't have any, apparatus to breathe or anything. They had what looks like, mammal faces on the Earth, kind of, but they didn't have any breathing apparatus. They were some kind of moon creatures. with unexplained science. So I thought that part of the plot was weak. And I didn't hear any conversation among the Earthlings of who those people were, why they were there, anything about them. So I felt that was a little bit wimpy. They should have at least told us something. We also didn't learn anything about what the aliens really wanted other than they were going to attack the Earth, and they were in no uncertain way. They were going to tell us that. I think it was kind of weird the fact that they had the disembodied English voice that would speak sometimes. That wasn't clear how that was done or why it was only done at certain times. The implant was kind of weird because they were put in kind of in a mysterious manner, kind of like a ray or something came in. I would have been more impressed if a little robot or something had come down and manually inserted the receiving apparatus for the mind control. I wasn't happy with how they presented that. It looked like a little bit of non-science stuff. Anyway, but I liked the movie, and the plot was okay, and I think the quality in general of the movie was reasonably good for a 1959 science fiction movie. We haven't seen too many that were that much better. We've seen a lot that are a lot worse. It was in color, and they made good use of the color. I was a little wondering about the moon. Everything seemed pretty dark, but they made use of that visual effect by showing the astronauts in these bright white spacesuits. So it's really easy to see them moving around. So I think they did that just so they could really easily, you could see where the astronauts were moving. I liked the Wienermobile, the two of them. That was cool. I kind of like the plot device. And Tony, I don't know if I should share what happens near the end of the movie, but I strongly recommend that you at some point skip to near the end and see what goes on near the end. There's some things that go on a ways from the end, but right near the end, there's other things that go on that are kind of interesting. Well, when I say near the end, I don't really mean the end of the movie. I mean the end of them being on the moon. So, spoiler alert, they're able to leave the moon. But right before they leave the moon, there's interesting things that happen. That's what I meant. There's also interesting things in the last couple of minutes of the movie. So, very good. I think that's it for now. Let's try round number 2. First, I'll check, are there any additional check-ins to the Afterglow net? This is N5BB, net control. Yes? False alarm. Okay, Tom, K5ICX. What do you say about the characterization and, I guess, directing or something? Characterization, directing, that kind of stuff. K5ICX and 5BB.
Oh, Bill, this is a hard one to really answer in a way because all the characters are kind of generic. I think this is one of those where where Tony has it, you can just insert anybody and then into the scene, and everybody's just replaceable. So I don't know. I don't have any real comments on them. I guess the commander was interesting. The guy running everything, he seemed to be commanding the performances and giving everybody direction in a way that seemed authoritative and logical, I suppose, along the way. We had the round eyes. We had Len Stanford as Dr. Roger Richardson. He was playing the non-Japanese guy, I guess, which was okay. I mean, it's like most Japanese movies and B movies like this that just okay, everybody's doing their thing and they wear different costumes, but they're all basically the same kind of cookie cutter character and surprises and all of that. So I guess I don't have a lot to say. The love interest was okay, but throw that away. I got nothing for you. I just didn't really. Well, I like the helmets. Everybody had those nice ping pong helmets. That was okay, I guess. But everybody was just basically the same. When somebody dies, do they care? No. There's another one nearby. You just pull them in and, hello, my name is. So I got nothing for you on the characters. There was nobody that was memorable, and I think during any scenes where they extended out, I did kind of fall asleep for a second. Back to you, Bill, KE5ICX.
Okay. Tom says weak on the characterization. Tony, I'm T5TM. You've seen enough to talk about characterization and maybe directing or something? N5BB, Afterglow.
Well, Bill, I have a feeling that I would agree with Tom. I don't see any sign of becoming interesting. I did a great job of letting us know who was possessed by the aliens at a given point. Oh, they move and stand in odd ways, and they do strange sabotagey things. So we can keep track of whoever that is. But everyone else, yes, sir, yes, my lord. There's no Hamlet in this movie. No one's about to launch into an important soliloquy. So yeah, I think the characters are all destined to be forgotten. We might enjoy the movie. The effects might be okay. But what their names even were, I have no clue. NT5TM.
Yeah, they said some of them, but they went in one ear and out my ear. And it wasn't because they were Japanese either. They were kind of meaningless. Okay. Next. Virginia, NV5F. What do you think about characterization? This is N5BB, Afterglow.net.
Thanks, Bill. Kind of the same as everybody else. They were all stereotype kind of characters that it wasn't really a character-driven story. We weren't really following anybody's story. I guess the one guy who had to sacrifice himself on the moon to save the ship when it got away, there was a little bit of emotion there, but overall it was just people doing their part in the story and doing an okay job of it. You had, the UN guys and the American guys and the scientists and the international people and it's kind of a big sweeping story that was more just about the effects and the plot, and so characters there, but not super annoying or anything. I found everybody pretty watchable and likable enough to keep track of what they were doing and care how it ended. So that's about it for me on characters. NV5F.
And this is N5BB Afterglow.net. There were so many of them. If you think about how many there were, even if they clearly said their name, we couldn't have kept up with them. They were dressed identically on the moon, and there were just too many of them. Okay. I guess they sent a backup crew. That's what they really did. Anyway, Brenda, WD5OZL, this is N5BB. What did you think about the characterization?
This is WV5OZL. Well, their characters are certainly different than the ones in American-made movies. It is not uncommon in one of our movies for the crew members to break out into a fist fight there inside the spaceship. There always has to be some kind of conflict, some, juggling to get to the top of the heap, or some old grievance. And they have to revisit all of this stuff. But the Japanese were just so nice. It was like, be careful and you can do it, and very positive attitude on their part compared to American movies where somebody's schizophrenic and somebody's afraid and they're fighting over a girl and all that kind of stuff. So it was kind of different. I kind of liked it. But I don't know. I might grow old. It was hard to tell the people apart. They were unfamiliar and you couldn't follow their names. But I often have trouble telling people apart in movies. Let's see. I hate those UN meetings. Just nothing ever seems to get done, and the people are boring. All right, back to net. WV50ZL.
Thank you, Brenda. Next we have Jay, KG5BZW. What did you think about the characterization, Jay? This is N5BB after Gwinnett.
This is KG5BZW. Okay, that was weird. Maybe I accidentally touched something. There's not much to say character-wise. I think others have kind of talked about, and the one bit of acting or whatever about the lone guy that was under mind control and fighting for the rest to leave. Which, I mean, there was, there was a ship that was destroyed, and there was somebody manning that ship, I think. So no mention of poor, whoever it was. Even though, the guy was under mind control, and it wasn't entirely his fault, and probably you couldn't say it was his fault, because I don't know how humans could have resisted that. Still, it's like, okay, I guess that character was literally disposable. And of course, we have the fight scenes, and a lot of ships get blown up. So, again, I don't know. Other places, it really is. It's hard to tell anybody apart. There was one gal that was noticed something and she was dismissed. That I don't know. No comment on that, I guess. Same in Japanese as in American films, I guess, or something. Oh, no. That guy couldn't have seen, somebody actually literally disappear or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And no investigation. Also, it was really annoying. Yeah, the guy was supposedly tied up, but, like, it was very poor tying. There's no even concept of, oh, hey, these guys like to work by taking control of one person. How about we, have a system where two people are involved to do anything or whatever? That's just too much sense for a movie like this. Can't, of course, that, you put in actual safeguards. How much of this movie could have actually occurred? Lots of the action of this movie is safeguards failing on both the aliens and the human fault. And yeah, like Bill said, the guys in the tunnel probably were another separate alien that we didn't really get. It would have been nice to know a little bit more about, honestly, because they were actually kind of curious things. But oh well, I guess that's a story for another day, huh? And I don't know, not much else to say. I mean, it's a plot that doesn't center about. It's not centered on characters. So what do you think is going to happen? There was the little love story thing, which almost feels like just added on. Although it was during the love story thing that. In fact, I'm honestly a little bit confused as to what relation that guy that was going to go into town was to the other two that were romantically involved. A little bit of interesting commentary on the moon and stuff right there, but it was really, I don't know, it was cheesy, but it was kind of meh. That's all I got. KQ5BZW.
Very good, Jay. Next, W5BLT. This is N5BB. Bill, what do you think about the characterization in this movie?
Well, the NATOL were evil aliens, and they did the job of evil aliens that they were supposed to do. They were trying to mind control people. They also were trying to destroy the Earth. They had their little spaceships doing their spaceship thing. I watched a YouTube video because some parts of the movie I was lost, so I went back to watch some reviews. And one of the reviewers commented it sounded like some kind of the alien name was like a sinus cold medicine. What it says for the name for the aliens just reminded them of a cold medicine that you might take. Dr. Richardson, they theorizing on how they were able to levitate things with by freezing them, and then of course Iwamura, I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name right, the nice gentleman who sacrificed himself so that people could escape. He felt guilty for what he had done under the mind control, and the Japanese culture that that honor is very important, and so he did what he needed to do to save humanity, and his friends. So you have the character sacrificing himself so that the movie and others could go on. That's all I got. W5CLP. Back to you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, do we have any additional check-ins to the Afterglow movie net? Battle in Outer Space. Any additional check-ins? This is N5BB, net control. Okay, it's my turn to talk about characterization. I agree with what other people said. There wasn't a lot of too strong characterization. One thing I'll say is that you notice that all the people, during the whole movie, there's a huge emphasis at the space meeting, United Nations meeting, in the control area on Earth with the Americans and the Japanese, etc., and the crews that went to the moon. There's an extreme focus on them working together toward a common cause. Okay? They're working together very, very tightly. Nobody is going off really on his own other than the guy that had the mind control. And I think this was very much a Japanese cultural thing in the late 50s. After World War II, the Japanese were kind of humiliated about that central control warrior kind of mentality, and they worked very strongly to participate in international organizations of various types, scientific and many other kinds of organizations, UN. And I think this showed that whole mentality. Everybody was working together toward a common goal. Those white helmets, I think, were the common Japanese Defense Force, the JDF helmets. I've seen those and other kind of things. I think it was a common helmet design they had back then in Japan. I did think it was weird that the character that was tied up wasn't tied up very well. They should have really done something better there. And I agree with the comments that the woman that saw the initial guy disappear, nobody took her comments seriously. Somebody should have investigated a little bit more. They did nothing. Okay. Now, why don't we talk about special effects in music and production values? So things like special effects, music, production values, quality, all that kind of stuff. I'll just go through everybody quickly. Tom, K5ICX, what do you say about special effects, music, etc.? This is N5BB Afterglow.
Yeah, thanks, Skip. These are practical special effects. We don't have much in the way of anything, beyond that. So I think they did very well. I love at the very beginning, they capture you with the space station that gets blown up before the credits even roll. And it was a rather impressive space station. I think maybe it was you. Somebody mentioned it. It reminds you of the Werner von Braun stuff from the 1950s. That was particularly realistic to me was when the two spaceships take off from Earth on the reconnaissance mission. I thought they looked really good as they took off together, and as it turns out, those were radio controlled. Or something. That's what it said in the description, that they were actual models that flew, and they looked good through the thing. I thought that was. The lunar rovers that they had were quite cool. Some of the ways that they did the special effects seem practical in the sense that if you were to do something like that, landing on the moon, which I guess we're going to be doing again, is going to look something similar to that. But it looked fine. The only thing that maybe wasn't that good would have been the alien spacecraft. I didn't think that the saucers looked all that great. I call them the cat saucers because they look like little cat heads flying by, and maybe that's what caused it to ruin it for me. But the EX-15s that they did, it was obvious that that's what they were mimicking with the vehicles, and they were doing some sort of slingshot into orbit, which I thought was kind of weird. There wasn't enough, momentum to make that happen, but it didn't matter. It looked good. The overall views were we've seen newer movies from the 70s and 80s with practical effects that aren't nearly as good as this from 1959. So I'm going to give them a lot of kudos. I think they did really well, and I think they made convincing effects for that time. So I thought that was great. The music. I think, which I've got a cheat here, but that's the guy who did all the music for all the Godzilla films, which were excellent. And I thought this was a good score for this particular movie. I don't know if it's as memorable as the Godzilla films, but it was decent. Production values held up quite well, I thought. Audio, video, or visual, sound, all that seemed to hold up fairly well. Even the dubbing was okay. I didn't mind it too much. So I give it a thumbs up. I think the only thing that I could say that was bad about the film is they had a weak plot, and maybe the acting was there. It's just no plot. There was no story. If it had a better story, I think it really would have worked really, really well. Other than that, no problem. I thought it was well done. Color was great. And you're right, a color movie in 1959 was somewhat unusual, and they did really good work in all of it. So thumbs up for all that they did. KE5ICX.
Very good, Tom. Tony, NT5TM. Hopefully you've seen enough to get a good idea. What do you think about special effects, music, etc.? This is N5BB, after one hit.
Well, thank you. I'm going to go with Tom here. I don't want to damn with faint praise. I'm going to praise with faint damn. I thought that the effects were not very good, but they were very good for 1959. I found the color of the Earth from space absolutely unconvincing. But I'm alive in the 21st century, and I can point a dish up in the sky and get live images from goes east and goes west. If I had been watching this movie in 1959, 1960, whenever it actually came out, I would have found the effects very satisfying. So I don't think they cheaped out anywhere. I liked the music. I liked the little bits of military marches they included at points. I really think they made a very credible effort given the technology and the knowledge of the time. They didn't really know, Apollo 8 was a long way away. What does the Earth look like when photographed with a very expensive Hasselblad camera from an escape trajectory? But no one knew. Given the limitations of the time, I think they tried hard. I don't think it distracts from the movie at all. NT5TM.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, remember in 1959, this was a couple of years before the first astronaut even went on a suborbital flight, or cosmonaut. Nobody had a picture of the Earth away from the Earth. So, and even though I lived through all those times, if you think about it now, the flight, the pictures taken from the moon of the Earth in color were really really, really had an effect on people. Huge effect. We'd never seen our Earth and what it really looked like from space until the pictures from the moon by Apollo astronauts. And before this time, they were just having paintings, essentially. What can they do? They tried, but they didn't have anything. There was nothing else they could take a picture of in space to say it was similar to the Earth. So they just had to make it up. Anyway, okay, next, Virginia, NV5F. What'd you think about the special effects, music, etc.? This is in 5BB.
Well, I guess I'll start where Tony kind of ended on the effects of the Earth, and yeah, it looked unconvincing, but with you guys back then, there was no photography of Earth from a distance, and I think they did the best they could. I thought their depiction of the moon was pretty good. I thought they had done a good job trying to show the moon, like, not just like a big photograph of the moon blown up, but an attempt at, hey, what would the moon look like closer up if you could see maybe more subtlety in the color or the textures of things. So I liked their attempt at the moon. Yeah, the saucers were a little not very interesting, but and the city tearing apart looked very cardboardy and like models. But some of the models were pretty good. I mean, it's hard to get the scale to look right unless you have exactly the right angle and exactly the right lens. And cinematographers just got better and better at that as more science fiction was made. And then you had crazy guys like Stanley Kubrick that would work and work and work until the miniatures actually looked like they were real, based on scaling by like really high frame rate, slow, or long, long exposures with everything in focus. He as a photographer who became a cinematographer who was also a director and kind of usurped his cinematographers a lot. People like him really did the work with the cameras that would have made the models look a little bit better. But these also had the problem of the rockets having fire coming out of the bottom, which was real fire, and that always messes up scale if you use real fire in models, because flames, you can't really scale the size of flames, so that always gives it away. I like the variety. You have the shiny Earth rockets, and then you have the big disco moon base thing that the aliens had. It's kind of cool. The aliens had a base on the moon, but we didn't. We had to find their base. All the gantries and rockets, launchers and stuff. They did a good job. They had a big variety of stuff to do with the effects. And like I said, the cheesiest thing I think was the city getting ripped apart by the freezing gravity weapon that to me just looked like a tornado ripping buildings apart. But yeah, overall effects I thought I liked the colors. They were very colorful. They may not have looked terribly realistic just because of some of the color choices. But I liked, and to me the Wienermobile space moon buses looked like a kind of a cross between the Wienermobile and the Yellow Submarine, but they were cool. They had a ton of wheels, and then they had that little bendy accordion thing in the middle so they could turn corners, and I could tell they had put some thought into this. They put some thought into the spacesuits. They actually I don't know. I think Stanley might have watched this one in prep for 2001. Apparently he watched a lot of science fiction, and I like to now watch movies and try to pick up on things that he might have even unconsciously taken with him. So I think this one had a lot of neat stuff in it. I'm trying to imagine being a kid watching it and thinking how cool it must have been to be a kid seeing this movie. But yeah, overall good. Music was all right, and sound was fine. It was just, dubbing and sound effects mostly. And yeah, I enjoyed it. It was watchable. I know Tom kind of revisited the plot, and I don't think the plot itself, like the story, I don't think was weak, but I think that the lack of character drivenness in it what made it a little more dishwatery. Because there was the whole thing of the Earth getting together, everybody coming together in peace, and that's an interesting theme for, what was still a post-war period movie, for Japanese to make a movie with that kind of message that, hey, let's all be friends in case aliens come and try to take over the Earth for no good reason. So I think the plot itself had it, the storyline was fine and the pacing was fine, but the lack of really character-drivenness and us really caring personally about the characters was probably what was missing there. Plot is character, as they say, or character is plot. Something, I don't know, I haven't read my Sid Fields in a while. Anyway, that's it for me in V5F.
Thank you, Brenda. Yeah, I agree. I think they should have, the scene in the tunnel with all those little moon aliens, whatever they were, they should have cut that. And they should have taken that time and spent it on giving the individual Earth characters things to do, something individual, like somebody comes up with something, he does something well or something. They could have had little instead they were all moving as one group and kind of hard to differentiate. But they should have given a little bit more individuality to these people rather than having them kind of literally move as a block, physically as a block. Okay, next, Brenda, WB5OZL. This is N5DB. What do you think about the special effects, music, etc.?
This is WB5OZL. I didn't care for the music that much. It was just too much, and too frenetic. There just wasn't much variation in it. Special effects, well, they had a lot of models, and they did the typical thing of 50 science fiction. But they did their best. I have no complaints on that score. All right. I am tired, and this is my last time to talk. So enjoy the net. Thank you, and good night. WB5OZL.
Thank you. Good night, Brenda. Jay, KG5BZW. What did you think about special effects and the music? This is N5DB.
This is KG5BZW. I don't know. I mean, so yes, for the time, the special effects were good. I'm always, there's something about kind of I don't want to call it cheesy effects because at the time they probably weren't really cheesy. There's something about the way the Japanese does things. I was actually kind of surprised how they blew up Tokyo, and like another mentioned how it looked like more like a tornado was taken. I mean, it was the effects of a tornado or something. I thought that was actually a good choice because I only in the fact that I don't know, maybe that was something that people did before, and now people will try to avoid. But I don't know. I kind of like watching because I'm so trained by modern sci-fi to have big explosions or whatnot. What if the effect of a alien ray is to not cause things to blow up, but to just kind of twist and turn and shift the environment? Like you can make an argument that that's actually kind of cooler. I'm sure. I mean, these days now with CGI and stuff, I know games and whatnot. That's actually that people are going away from explosions or whatnot, renditions. So that's a lot more common, but still, yeah, especially modern day. With I literally play a game on occasion that twists and turns the world as you play it, and it's kind of interesting. But it's kind of weird how a movie from 1950s is kind of how we're kind of coming around back today, even though that was even if it's just fans blowing or whatever, it's still it's an interesting thought process. It inspires my imagination, so it was good there. Some of the spaceships of the aliens were kind of cheesy, kind of meh. I don't have any comment on the music because it was just not memorable to me. And with that, I don't have anything else. KG5BCW, back to Nat.
Very good, Jay. We're getting near the end. W5BLT Bill, what did you think about special effects and music? I know you may not be a good person to ask unless you had a family member that was telling you what was going on the screen. But do you have any comments about any of that? This is N5BB after Lynette.
Yeah, actually, I was talking to I guess you call my cousin-in-law, my wife's cousin, and he was giving me some background. He said one of the ships, I think, looks like the SpaceX rocket. So I can't judge that. But the other thing that I can't say is this movie made $600,000, which I think would have been about $6 million in today's standards. I think each dollar was $10 and something, accounting for inflation. So that's a kind of a depressing thought, thinking about how inflation has hurt us. But anyway, the reviews at the time, people were in awe of the special effects. And I remember growing up watching how Star Wars was made, and how they had to do all the video effects that they did and the sound effects. And so I think for the time period, if we're looking at the time period, this is they did a lot of work. For example, the beginning of the film, they had the platform and the saucers were attached to an overhead rail, and both of those moved at the same speed to film the space saucers, the three space saucers at the very beginning. If you look at the YouTube, it talks about how they did the ray gun, how the rocket ships were done, how they used piano wires and painted them so they would match the background of outer space. The one thing I know that the scene of the cities getting blown up maybe seemed kind of hokey, but they had to do all this stuff with paper thin materials in styrofoam, and then they had these air jets blowing up from the bottom to throw that material up in the air. And I was watching another video about this on YouTube, and I guess, and again, I can't confirm this, but it's just what the reviewer said, that they had to do that in one take, so they couldn't make mistakes. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I thought that was interesting that, they did a lot of work to try to do the visual effects. And, today we have CGI that we always talk about, and so they didn't have that, and I think as a blind guy, I can only say what I've read, but I think that's pretty neat and spectacular that they had to do this stuff without relying on computers and things. So I'll just put in a plug for them. I think that was very creative, and they have some creative minds really thinking about how they were going to make these special effects. And so if we judge it by today's standards, we can go, yeah, that's kind of hokey. But if we really look back and think about what they had then, well, I think it's pretty cool. W5BLT, back to net control.
Okay, thank you, Bill. This is N5BB, and this is the Afterglow net, nearing the end. We're talking about Battle in Outer Space, a Japanese/American movie from 1959. A few final comments I might make. I thought the cinematography was really pretty good. In several places I saw camera angles that were taken that were very interesting. One I remember in particular was when the guy that had the mind control, when he was in the spacecraft, he came up, you were looking down as he was coming up a ladder, and you saw the hatch close behind him. Now, I didn't understand that, because it looked like something closed the hatch and the handle spun like it was automatic. But anyway, you saw him climbing up towards you. And there were several other ones like this where I thought the camera angles were well chosen. I think the scenes were pretty well framed. And so, I'm not just talking about the special effects. I'm talking about the live action scenes. So, to me, they did a pretty good job on filming this. I was interested that the astronauts on the moon had backpacks with their life support stuff and their radio, and they had an antenna. It was a very obvious antenna sticking out of it. And, they communicated with each other via radio, but they bothered to put a very obvious antenna on it. So somebody did some thought about that, for 1959. They were actively thinking about it and making it seem real. I did think that the lunar vehicles, the Wienermobiles, are really neat. Did you notice, besides rolling on wheels, they had some kind of thing where they could lift them up? They were shooting out gas or something, and they could lift them up and go over things. So that was well thought out. I would want one of those if I was on the moon. They could do both. So I thought that was kind of nifty. Tony, if you're still listening, if you haven't seen it, the bad guy, the guy with the mind control, blows up one of the spacecraft, and then he goes over to the other one to try to blow it up, but they stop him at the last. Actually, they didn't stop him. The lunar base gets blown up, and the moment the lunar base gets blown up, the mind control stops. So he figures out what he's done. He stops destroying the second spacecraft, and then late in the movie, he gets one of the ray guns over on the edge, and he helps them leave. So he stays on the moon. He sacrifices himself so that everybody else could leave. So, I don't know. That was kind of a neat little thing there, little moral thing at the end. Okay, I think we've gone through everything. Tom, what's going on for next week in Afterglow? K5ICX and 5BB.
Is that we may pick something different. I've got Space Mutiny from 1988 listed for the film. We may watch that. I am going through YouTube. I find the new Star Trek is out there, so we might watch one of those. I don't know yet, but Space Mutiny is on there. I will send out the notices in the morning as soon as I figure something out. In case we get an A-list film that we haven't seen or would like to see, may do that instead. But that's it, Bill. Back to you. Thanks for doing the net this evening. Appreciate it. KE5.
Elvis has left the building.
Oh, you're welcome, Tom. And we just tied with Elvis there, so we're right on time. I want to thank everybody for participating tonight. I had fun with this movie. Hope we can have some other ones that are as fun as this one. This is N5BB closing the Afterglow Movie Net, run by the Dallas Amateur Radio Club every Saturday night. Good evening.